So MGTOW have got it all wrong. Is it possible everything can be explained by our failure as men, and that gynocentrism is just an excuse?
Racism, the evils of slavery, the caste system of the Jim Crow laws, and sustained prejudice even today have placed additional pressures on African American and other minority cultures.
So everything affecting men has no biological basis. Rather, it is a recent thing, caused by prejudice and slavery. Presumably by white men in power. Okay. I can guess where this is probably going, and who is really at fault for men's condition, so let's continue.
These unfortunate realities have contributed to a chain of events that oftentimes removed minority men from their homes, left young minority boys without male role models, limited growth and leadership opportunities for minority men, and created many other unfortunate challenges that have helped contribute to the current manhood crisis.
And so it is white men in power's fault there are so many single black mothers out there, and why there is violence on the streets. Meaning that if you disagree with the violence of Black Lives Matter, then you only have your own privilege to blame. Makes total sense so far. Let's see how else it's men's fault alone that has damaged men's lives.
Another dynamic that contributed arose when we shifted from an agrarian culture to an industrial culture. For many families up until that point, a young son would live the majority of his life next to dad. There was a great chance that dad worked in the fields behind the house. His son would see and be around his dad in the best hours of his day throughout all 4 seasons of the year.
Man and boy in their rightful places. Toiling all hours in the fields, and in all weather. Okay, please continue.
He would observe firsthand dad's work ethic, his creativity, his problem solving, and his leadership.
How could men have forgotten how wonderful this would have been? How could MGTOW have got it so wrong?
In the wake of the Industrial Revolution, the norm for dad changed. Instead of working out of his home with his son tagging along, he would get up early, commute to work, work an 8 to 10 hour day, then come home later that evening. All he had left for his wife and kids were a few meager tidbits of himself. The leftovers.
So, marriage was, and no doubt will be, the answer to all men's issues. So this is how MGTOW is wrong, and damaging. Men's inventiveness and the new technological age wasn't for women's benefit. It was just something which destroyed the family unit, and the man's failure to live up to his duties as husband.
The Industrial Revolution helped set in motion the idea that raising kids was woman's work. A man's job was only to go to work and put a roof over his family's head and food on the table.
Damn it, men, it's all our fault. So far women haven't even factored into the picture. I guess that our failures will impact the women too, and they will have to step up to compensate for our failure, being the amazing gender they are.
Somehow men are supposed to be okay with this minimal, non-connected existence. As a result, mom was forced to fill in for dad.
Told you. The patriarchy created the idea that child rearing and family duties were beneath men via the Industrial Revolution. God damn it, patriarchy.
And many boys grew up without dad being around, and therefore no male role model.
How could men have been so blind? I suspect that, if it weren't for the superior power of women to take on all our hard work as well as their own, civilization would have long since fallen.
He was taught almost everything by mom or other women in his life. These women were courageous and vital.
Courageous and vital? Surely they are all this, as well as humankind's benevolent saviors.
Then there was the negative impact of the war years on a generation of men. Many of our grandfathers and great-grandfathers were part of the greatest generation. They exchanged their youth for war, and the virtues they valued were sacrifice and duty.
Young men's lives were sacrificed to their duty? One of the bloodiest wars in all history? Hundreds of thousands of men forced to kill each other for duty, while women stayed at home? To protect the women and a subset of children? Do you mean these duties that come not from genocentrism, but from what it really means to be a man? Is that correct?
But many of those men who engaged in battle had trouble engaging emotionally with their families after those wars. Because of this lack of emotional engagement, many sons of war veterans felt their dads took their fathering lightly and were disconnected from them relationally. Unfortunately, it was true. The war had not only taken them away from their families, it had changed many of them. Upon their return, far too many knew only to focus on hard work or other escapes from their trauma. Many of them didn't connect emotionally with their families, and that lack of engagement impacted their children and grandchildren.
So this is how the patriarchy robbed men of their ability to express emotion. Had it not been for systemic racism, the Industrial Revolution, and now man-made war, men would still be the kind of men that modern feminists are fighting for. Thank God for women sacrificing their own needs to compensate for our failures and to fight to restore us to our rightful place.
Feminism came to life in the second half of the 20th century.
Note the uplifting change of music as we learn that it is feminism that was born to fix all the damage that men had done to the world and their sons.
It originally sought equality. That's a great thing because men and women are equal. But the feminist quest later turned to sameness. Some segments of the feminist movement basically said that there are no differences between men and women. That left many men unsure how to act, with a lack of clarity about their role as men.
As we know, men aren't smart enough to understand.
Some even raise the question of whether men have a role or uniqueness at all. Anyone brave enough to ask that question is often criticized. In a world of sameness, no one seems to know for sure what a man is, or if he is even necessary.
So this is what it means to be a man? Not that MGTOW rubbish. Who would have thunk it? If not for this video I came across, I would still be under the misconception that any of the modern world's problem might involve women. My eyes have been opened and red pill regurgitated because I have been shown how it is all men's fault and that women are not only blameless, but the sole reason we haven't destroyed ourselves.
Now we have a more recent phenomenon called extended adolescence.
I was wondering when the Peter Pan effect would factor in. Damn. We men just can't accept what feminism is doing to help us, and instead choose to remain as children, refusing to do as feminists rightly tell us, and instead, going our own way.
Too many of our young men are choosing not to grow up. Instead of transitioning to adulthood in their early 20s, many young men are delaying adulthood until their late 20s or even their early 30s. Instead of transitioning boys to men, our culture has created a third place between boy and man. Several books have even been written describing this phenomenon. One author calls these guys boys who shave, and another labels it guyland. This phenomenon has a number of our young men stuck in an extended adolescence. Guys who choose just to drift along in life and take no responsibility for themselves, much less anybody else.
You hear that, MGTOW? It's your fault that feminism can't restore men to their rightful place. Curse you all.
They are only focused on their own comfort and the next big thrill. They are flatline on things that really do matter, like getting out of debt, seeking meaningful relationships, pursuing a job, providing for a family, and living with a mission, a cause that is bigger than themselves.
And this is what patriarchy is. Our privilege. Where we give ourselves permission to absolve men from all our responsibilities, thus oppressing women and all the other minorities because of our racism. And MGTOW is the poster child for this. This MGTOW channel is new, partly because I have only recently discovered that I'm not alone in how I have been living over the past 2 years, but also because whenever I have started to create content, I have been either too angry to continue, or much better MGTOW men have already covered the topic much better than I could. I have added links to their channels in the description, together with a link to the video I have commented on in this video. Hopefully I shall soon find my stride and produce more videos. I hope to comment on what MGTOW means to me, a personal experience, so that others much younger than myself will not have to suffer the torment and loss that comes with living in a gynocentric society. And let others learn from my mistakes with hypergamous women. There will be the odd commentary, such as this one, as well as my thoughts on the philosophy of MGTOW and the biological and psychological contributions to this anti-men society we are born into. I hope that you enjoyed this video and would consider hitting the like button or even subscribing. I would also like to read your comments and suggestions and answer any questions you might have. So until next time, Burst Free MGTOW signing off.